They thought they could control everything, the grass height, the mailbox color, even when I could sit by the lake behind my own house. One morning, I was fined $500 for illegal fishing from a lake that I had helped clean and preserve for years. The HOA president smirked, calling it community property. What they didn't know was that community property had just gone up for sale, and I had the money, the motive, and the fury to buy it. So when they sent their next violation notice, I sent something back. An eviction from the lake itself. It started like any other quiet morning in Pine Brook Estates, a gated neighborhood wrapped around a serene man-made lake marketed as exclusive waterfront living. When I first moved here, I was just another homeowner, an engineer who loved peace, fishing, and watching the sunrise ripple across the water. My house sat on the far corner, where the cattails grew tall and the sound of frogs at night drowned out everything stressful about work. The HOA, on the other hand, was a different kind of ecosystem, full of people who didn't fish, didn't garden, and didn't understand what peace really meant. They were obsessed with appearances. Your lawn had to be the approved shade of green. Your trash cans could only be out for exactly 32 minutes on pickup day. And every homeowner was expected to contribute to community image, meaning endless fees, reports, and pointless board meetings. The president, Carol Whitmore, was the worst of them, a retired realtor who treated the HOA like her personal empire. Her husband drove the community patrol golf cart, pretending to be a cop with a radar gun that didn't even work. Together they terrorized the neighborhood, fining people for parking on their own driveways or for having bird feeders too visible from the street. I ignored most of it. I paid my dues, kept my yard clean, and minded my own business. But then came the lake rule, a new amendment. Fishing in the community lake is prohibited without written HOA approval. They said it was about protecting wildlife, but everyone knew it was just another control tactic. For me, though, fishing wasn't just a hobby. It was my peace, my therapy after losing my father, who taught me how to fish when I was 5. So one calm Saturday morning, I walked to the dock, dropped my line in the water, and watched the sun come up, unaware that my quiet act of peace was about to ignite a war. 3 days later, I got the letter. Violation notice, unauthorized use of common property, fine, $500. I laughed at first. I thought it was a mistake. But Carol made sure I knew it wasn't. She showed up at my door, clipboard in hand, smiling like a snake. "Rules are rules," she said. "We can't have people just doing whatever they want on HOA property." I pointed to the lake, just yards away from my porch. "That water touches my land," I said. She didn't care. "Community property," she repeated. "It belongs to all of us, and that means none of you." The arrogance was unreal. So I decided to check something. Property records. And that's when I saw it. The lake wasn't actually owned by the HOA. It was owned by a private management company, and their contract with the neighborhood was about to expire. That tiny detail changed everything. While Carol was bragging about her power, I was making phone calls. The management company was happy to sell, and I had the savings and business credit to make it happen. Within a week, the paperwork was in motion. By the time the HOA mailed my second violation notice, I had already wired the deposit. Carol wanted power. She was about to find out what real power looked like. When the sale closed, I didn't tell anyone right away. I wanted to see how far they'd go. They sent me another fine, this time for unauthorized equipment after spotting my fishing rod on the dock. Then they tried to threaten legal action. That's when I struck. I drafted a letter on official letterhead. Effective immediately, Pine Brook Lake is under new private ownership. Recreational access is hereby suspended pending safety review. In other words, the entire neighborhood was banned. The next morning, people woke up to find chains across the dock entrances and "no trespassing" signs circling the lake. Carol stormed over, red-faced, demanding answers, only to see my name on the posted ownership notice. Her jaw dropped. "You can't do this," she shouted. But I could, and I did. The HOA tried everything: threats, letters, even a lawyer. But the truth was simple. The HOA didn't own the lake, never had, and now never would. They called an emergency board meeting, which I attended, just to watch them unravel. Carol's voice shook with rage as she accused me of destroying community harmony. I calmly slid a document across the table, the deed, signed, sealed, and notarized. I reminded them of something they'd all forgotten. Property rights work both ways. They'd built their community rules around land they didn't even own. The irony was poetic. They fined me for fishing on their lake when it was never theirs to begin with. Then came the best part. The local news caught wind of the story. A small headline turned into a viral headline. Homeowner buys HOA lake after being fined for fishing. Within days, the neighborhood became a punchline online. People drove by just to see the lake of petty revenge. But my favorite part wasn't the fame. It was the silence. For the first time in years, no one patrolled, no one nagged, no one told me what to do. The HOA's power had evaporated, drowned in the very lake they had tried to control. Over time, I reopened the lake, but only to people who respected it. Families who wanted to teach their kids to fish, veterans who found peace by the water, people who asked, not demanded. The HOA still existed, but its power was shattered. Carol eventually resigned after members accused her of mismanaging community affairs. Ironically, the HOA's next president sent me a polite letter, requesting permission to hold their annual picnic by the lake. I said no. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. The HOA had built its entire identity around control. They forgot that community isn't about enforcing. It's about belonging. Sometimes it takes one act of defiance to remind everyone where true ownership lies, not in titles or rules, but in respect. Now, when I sit by the water at sunset, I think about that first fine, $500. That's what started it all. The best money I ever lost. In life, there are people who build peace, and people who build rules to destroy it. When you're pushed far enough, remember this. Sometimes the calmest revenge is also the deepest, because power isn't loud. Sometimes it's just sitting quietly, with your fishing line in your own lake.